An absolutely inexcusable effort for the second game in a row as the Sixers fall to the New York Knicks by a score of 138-89 in their final game before the All-Star break. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers post-game show, live from the Xfinity Mobile Studio, along with Roy. I'm Derek, and of course, the MVP herself. We are presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You know, Roy, we asked you to come in out of the bullpen for this one. I did not
Yeah.
think it was going to be this bad. I apologize. I truthfully want to start this show off by apologizing for you because I hope that nobody who doesn't get paid to watch this team actually wasted their time watching this team. And I'm sorry that we put you through that.
It's all right. You know what? You mentioned Bet365 is never ordinary. This team is never ordinary, right? Like, goodness gracious. I don't know what that was. We were talking right before we came on the air. I guess that was a basketball game. That was some of the most pathetic effort I have seen from a team heading into an All-Star break, coming out on all, whatever. I've seen in a long time. It's unbelievable how bad that team looked from the jump.
It was 100% right from the jump. And, you know, it's one thing, like, okay, there were so many different ways that you could have said, okay, this game's going to go sideways. And look, there were versions of this game where they lose by 30 points, and you go,
Mhm.
yeah, you know what? Okay, I understand that a little bit. Like, I get that.
Right.
They come out, they're missing Embiid, they're missing Paul George, they're missing Quentin Grimes, 3 of their top 6 players out of the lineup against a team that, yeah, the Knicks they played last night, but they're still a good basketball team, and they're strong in areas that you don't really have a counter to. You could have convinced me, like, there was a version where they lose, and they lose comfortably and handily, where I don't walk out of here annoyed. This is not one of them. This is a game that should annoy you as a fan. That absolutely should annoy you as a fan. I guess we'll just start off with the Wawa Wednesday big deal right from the jump because it's hard to ignore it. The big deal on this one, this was an unserious effort. It was just a flat out unserious effort. And, you know, I was sitting here going through some of my notes from the first quarter when this game still felt like it could have had a chance to be a game. And the way it just started off, it starts off legitimately, it's like 2-2. Kelly completely falls asleep on a slot cut, and Bridges just has a wide open layup. Absolutely wide open. Next defensive possession, Kelly pressures Brunson on the perimeter, forces him to give a pass, completely falls asleep. Another cut by Brunson. You just go through and through and through. Like, there's so many different ways. At one point in the first quarter, Justin Edwards is like trying to press Mikal Bridges at the half court line, like completely just trying to, and it's like gave him an easy drive and dish. There were so many plays that just came down to their heads were not in this game in any which way. And as much as I want to sit here and talk about who they didn't have on the floor, as much as I want to sit here and talk about that was a tough team, can't expect them to win when they're missing so many players. They just were not serious right from the jump. And if you're going to come into a game like this undermanned, you can't be giving up easy cuts legitimately on, like, at one point to start the game, I think the Knicks had like a 12-2 edge in points in the paint. And it's not like they did anything all that much. They just moved off ball and the Sixers were completely asleep.
Yeah, they 20 of their first 26 points, the Knicks points, came from points in the paint, right? And like you said, like the first part of the first quarter was disgusting. Knicks up 16-4 early. One of the 3 of the points came, I don't know if you remember that sequence that Bridges had the corner 3 that he missed. Knicks get the rebound, kick it back out to him. He's still wide open for both of them. Makes the second one. And it's like, come on. It's like you said, like for the first 6-7 minutes of the game, this team was completely asleep. Just let the Knicks just do whatever on offense. And again, like you thought, like, right, like you said before, there is a script where you can say, all right, maybe you come into this game asleep early in the game, but maybe you pick things up, later in the first quarter, in the second quarter. That didn't happen at all tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean it was, and honestly, it came from a lot of the better defenders too. Like, and that's one thing. Like, this is a team that should have, like, yeah, you lost a lot of obvious offensive firepower with Embiid not in the lineup, but you had a lineup that at the very least should have theoretically been able to defend at a pretty high level with VJ out there and
Hmm.
Kelly and
Yeah.
Barlow and Bona. Like that's a team that has the kind of athletes that should be able to be a little bit aggressive on the perimeter. It doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are if you're falling asleep legitimately almost every play. Like it was absolutely like
Yeah.
even stupid little stuff. Like I remember there was one play, late in the first quarter where like Maxey gets screened by a back screen, like pretty much 40 feet from the basket. And Drum just never calls it out, leaves him on an island. Maxey never sees a back screen. And next thing you know, it's an easy 5-on-4 and Brunson gets a three. There is so many different, and we'll get to Drummond because some of those outlet passes, oh my God. There were just so many different things where like
Yeah.
they weren't, I mean, what was it, Doc 2 years ago? I think he said like half my team was on the court, the other half was in Cabo. This was even like there was outside of, VJ, I'll give him credit. He couldn't shoot, but he was
Mm.
playing with pretty good effort there for most of the first half. Barlow playing with pretty good effort. Maxey gave pretty good effort. Outside of that, like they just weren't locked in. They just were not ready to play today at all.
And the worst part about it is, again, like 2 nights ago, right? Like the last game of the road trip. Yes, it's the last game of the road trip. You want to go home. It's a getaway game, right? You look really bad against Portland. And then you come home, you have a day off, you have a team who played last night in the Knicks come to your building and beat you by nearly 50 points. Like that's the worst part about it, right? If this game happened in a vacuum, maybe I could explain it a little bit more. But again, you had a team who, like we talked about in the pregame show, 4 of the 5 starters played 38 minutes last night for the Knicks. They come into your building, and after the first quarter, you're already down 13 points. Like that's inexcusable.
Yeah. No, like you needed a get right game to feel good heading into the break. You had a team that was on the second half of back to back. That team
Yep.
should not come out and be the team that's more locked in, that's more focused, that's more engaged,
No.
that's giving better effort. And that was absolutely the case here. Like both teams have an all-star break starting tomorrow. Only one team decided not to show up.
Yeah, we can't even use it. Rasheed Wallace. Both teams played hard tonight.
No, you definitely can't. You definitely cannot.
That didn't happen.
Knicks ended the night shooting 20 of 44 from three-point range, good for 45%. They shot 53% overall from the field. Ended up with a absolutely devastating night against the Sixers. And that's 2 nights now. I believe that these would be 2 of the Sixers' 3 worst defensive games of the season for the past 2 games. You had I think it was like a 134 offensive rating for the Blazers and then a 136 offensive rating for the Knicks tonight. Both of those are in the 3 worst games of the year for the Sixers, and then both happening in the 2 games heading into the All-Star break. Just awful.
They
And you have
lost.
it. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. They lost every single quarter tonight. Every single quarter they lost. They lost
Yeah.
the first quarter by 13. They lost the second quarter by 17. They actually played a little bit better in the third quarter. I guess we'll talk about that in a bit. But then, we had the Jose Alvarado show in the fourth quarter, the first part of the fourth quarter, before they empty the benches, and they lost the fourth quarter by 16. Like at some point, it's like, come on, man. It's like, have a little bit. Like, nobody had any effort tonight. Like the first team guys, the second team guys, we got nothing. Again, 3 guys in double figures. We got nothing from basically everybody else tonight.
Yep. Yeah, and it's not like you did nothing, and they also like every now and then you'll have like Kelly will have an off night offensively, and was he off tonight? 0 for 6 from the field for 2 points. But you'll have like a good defensive effort. That was not the case tonight at all. Like nobody, a lot of the guys like who weren't contributing offensively were also complete disasters on defense. It was, I am pretty receptive to teams will have hot shooting performances, and that's 2 straight games where the other team has shot like 45% from 3-point range. But when you watch it and you see the effort and you see the attention to detail or the lack of attention to detail, these were not like random fluke shooting games. These were 2 despicable defensive performances.
Can we chalk this up to just going into the break? These last 2 games. Can we just say like, how I guess on your scale of confidence, are you confident that this team just mailed it in the last 2 games and
I'm confident they mailed it in. I'm just not confident that was the only problem here. No, I think this has been a pretty middling defensive team all season. That when the other, they will give up open threes, and when the other team gets hot, they will get burned. They have had their issues in transition defense, and I think they had that here again tonight. So, no, I'm not going to say that this was just them. Like, they were a mediocre defensive team, missing probably their two most important defensive players, who also gave absolutely inexcusable, despicable defensive efforts. It's like a combination of all three. And I do think this
Gotcha.
is one where, like, look, Bona, great athlete, plays hard, no idea what he's doing on the court most nights. Drummond just absolutely cannot hang athletically at all. Paul George and Joel Embiid are crucial cogs, foundational pieces,
Mhm.
really, of the team's defense. And I do think missing them hurts. But even still, like, guys that you expect more out of. And Kelly's the one that I'm probably going to pick on the most because he just came out of that game and he was not ready to play at all.
Yeah.
But even your good defenders, for the most part, I think, like I said, I think VJ had some moments. Wasn't good all game, but he had some moments at least. For the most part, even
Mhm.
your good defenders weren't ready to go tonight. And it's inexcusable.
All right. Let me
All right, once again,
I'm trying to be the voice of optimism here, Derek. I mean, I'm trying to find something
good luck.
positive here. Like, yeah, I know. There's not much. There's not much to it. But is there something we can take out of this? Like, I know, I know this is a game we wanted to win because of the season series with the Knicks and things like that. And it was a disgusting game. I understand. Again, is there something that I can just say, you know what? Like, let's just flush these two down the toilet, burn these tapes, and then when they come back a week from now against Atlanta, I think it's Atlanta, this team, we should feel as good about this team next week as we did, a week ago.
Yeah, I think the best part of this game was when it ended. That's look.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think for the most part, like, we react to games on here. We talk about games, we analyze and dissect games. I do think the most telling measure of a team is the full season. It's the full sample.
Sure.
And I think this is, for the most part, a mediocre defensive team, not an abomination of a defensive team. They've been an abomination the last two nights. I do think they are better than what they've shown. So, like, I do think we will give tonight the reaction it deserves. We will give this 2-game trend the reaction that it deserves. I wouldn't
Mhm.
say it changes how I feel about the team. It might reinforce just how much you rely upon Joel Embiid and Paul George. It might reinforce that you could have used some more depth behind them, but it's not
Yeah.
really going to change how I feel about the team. But boy, whenever you watch a team quit like this, it's really
Yeah.
hard to stomach. So again, I think
Yeah.
that is like, it's the big deal is that was just an absolutely unserious effort. And that's, once again, the big deal presented by Wawa. Any sizzly, any hot or iced coffee, and a hash brown for $5 from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m., which I actually had some Wawa tonight. I did not actually have a sizzly deal, so I'm not going to lie about that because I came in after 11, but I did stop by the Wawa and have a little bit here tonight.
Nice.
Truth, like I said, I think they were overmatched in this one. Now,
Sure.
yeah, you hoped some of that would be offset by the fact that the Knicks played last night. It wasn't. The Knicks had way more energy than the Sixers did. So I was not expecting to come here and talk about a win, if I'm being 100% honest.
Mhm.
I did not expect them to be like, I thought there was a chance they would overlook this game if they won in Portland and if they wrapped up a 4-1 road trip and they were feeling good about themselves.
Mhm.
I did not expect, after what happened in the third quarter against Portland, for them to come out and have this kind of game. And it's really disappointing. Really disappointing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, you're like, to your point, like, you come into this game, if you just look at it realistically, it's like, all right, Brunson and Maxey, they might cancel each other out, and that's fine. Like, you don't have Embiid, right? So like this, the Knicks are going to have the edge in the front court, so that's fine. Hopefully, as you mentioned before in the pregame show, hopefully you can negate some of that, by VJ Edgecombe being more efficient, being more aggressive on offense. Didn't really get that, those shots going in the basket tonight, and then to that point, to counter that, you had the X factor in Mikal Bridges kind of going off early. And then after he went off, then then Towns just had his way in the paint. And then the game was over. The game was out of reach. So yeah, like, realistically, you could have, you saw like the Knicks probably had the edge in this one, despite the fact that they played last night. But again, having the edge is one thing, but then winning the first half by 30 points, on the road is something else entirely.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's just so many. Like, I remember, there were a couple times where, like, Bona came up the trap and Maxey didn't rotate back. And there's just so many miscommunications, so many people fall asleep off ball. And look, the Knicks, besides the offensive rebounding, they really move the ball and they really cut off the ball. And that stresses the defense. That stresses, a group of players that probably hasn't played. Like, I'd love to take a look at this 5-man lineup that started the game. I bet they've played very few minutes together all season. But, that's why you have to really trust in the, principles that you've been playing all season with and in the practice that you've put in. And they just, the Knicks, like I said, the Knicks stress a team that is not on the same page. But it's not even really about that. Like I said, so many of those early cuts weren't like, really complicated screens or actions that you need to communicate. It was just, you are literally losing your man off ball. It is just a lack of attention to detail. And it's wildly disappointing. I have no way to really square that. Like, I have no way to rationalize that. That's not just you're missing players. That's you didn't show up today.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the center spot for a second. So
right. Let's get that after our first break, so we can hear from some of our friends.
Guys, everybody's got their favorite hard tee. Maybe you're just trying to get through a late night Sixers game. You're going out on the town, whatever it might be. You know what you're turning to. But have you ever turned the can around to read what's in it? You can't, because they won't tell you while they hide what's inside. Crooked Tea is bragging about what they're giving you, which is real USDA organic tea from our friends at Crooked Tea. That means there's real flavor with zero sugar. There is no fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. So the next time you're at the store, you're out on the town, I need you to flip the can. And if you can't find the ingredients, put it back. Grab a Crooked Tea with zero sugar, real tea, fully transparent. You know it, Philly. Real recognizes real. You don't need to drink the fake stuff when you have Crooked Tea right there in your hand, available everywhere. Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find it in a store near you. Guys, you may notice here on the PHLY Sixers show, we wear a lot of hats. Some days you got bedhead. Some days you're rushing around from the practice facility. I need quality hats. I need good-looking hats. So whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, or beanies, maybe even a t-shirt to go with them, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. Here's the best part, guys. They do fully custom jobs. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. You're actually seeing, if you're watching on YouTube or Fast or anywhere else, one of our custom hats that we have made at PHLY with Branded Bills. It also sits nice and comfortably on my head. It's adjustable. You can start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. They have a partnership with Penn State. It's part of their campus collection and many others as well. So head to brandedbills.com. Use the code BBPHLY for 15% off of your first order.
All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers show, where once again, the Sixers lost to the New York Knicks 138-89. That is not a typo. I did not misspeak. They got drilled by, 49 points?
40,
is my math
49.
right? 49 points. Can I get somebody with
49.
a calculator to double check that math? That is not an easy one to do in your head. Just an absolute despicable defensive performance for the second game in a row. I don't really know what else to say about that. All right. I think maybe the best way to pivot here. Any other stray thoughts you have on the defense before we try to pretend that there was something positive to take from that one besides it ending?
Yeah, just in general, not specifically about this game, but this game highlighted a lot of it. I wanted to talk about the centers. We saw a Dembona who had 3 fouls in 9 minutes tonight. His first 9 minutes tonight. We saw Dominick Barlow getting some run at the 5. You mentioned, Andre Drummond, who I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. He probably had as little juice tonight as I've seen him.
Those two outlet passes, forget the defense. I know he can't play defense. Right. Those two outlet passes, like he thought he was prime Kevin Love out there. He wasn't even close. He threw one behind VJ, and then he threw one that was like 10 feet in front of Barlow. 2 instant turnovers after finally getting one of your few stops of the night. I just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, you got So you got that from Drummond. We even saw some Bassey minutes over Drummond in the third quarter. What's the fix for the center? Like, do they need to bring in a body? Like how do they? Because they have serious issues at that backup 5 spot.
I mean, there's really nobody to bring in. No,
You gotta do
I would have
something.
liked them to target. Like, I wouldn't mind giving Bassey more of a run on the second 10-day, but like he probably, I don't even know how many days he has left. It's not all that many.
Mhm.
He's not going to get a chance to show enough for a contract. Like, if they had any inclination to give him a real contract, they would have been playing him over these last 14 days or whatever they've had him.
Right.
No, I think they're sticking with 3 centers and just hoping that Embiid plays as many games as he can in the playoffs. I would be stunned if they fix it, but it's not good enough. Like, Drummond is cooked and plays
Yeah.
like a doesn't play smart basketball all the time, and Bona has seemingly no idea what he's doing out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. No, I guess Bassey will be done by the time they get back to playing. I would
Yeah.
like to
The,
have seen him
the,
more.
the, the days count. Do the days count for the All-Star break? I don't know how that works.
Pretty sure. I'd have to double check, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure.
Okay.
Not great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
we
great, Bob.
do have to pick a player of the game in this one, even though it is not easy to do so. So I guess we
Mm.
will get to that. Chat if you have any guesses before 3. Whoop, I should have
Nope. There we
solicited
go.
that beforehand. It is Tyrese Maxey. 32 points, 9 of 21 shooting, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Not exactly, I mean, nobody on offense could shoot for most of the night, so he wasn't going to rack up all
No.
that many assists. He did have a bunch of really nice drives. I do think he played for the most part with effort to try to keep the game reasonably close. There's no one else you could have even reasonably given it to. Like, who else would have been in contention for it? I couldn't even imagine. Like, maybe Dominick Barlow, because he doesn't piss me off. Like, he was probably the one who pissed me off the least in this game. But when Maxey has 32 and Barlow has 13, you're probably going with the franchise guy. I do think Maxey, like I said, really aggressive attacking downhill. Another night where he was okay from the perimeter. Like, he had two misses late that dragged down those shooting splits, but for the most part, I think he was making his jumpers and just putting pressure on the rim, getting the free throw line 13 times as well. You're not going to, it's hard to really take too much from a game that was garbage time in like the middle of the second quarter, but I do
Yeah.
think he was a good spark on offense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you said, like I don't think he had the best offensive game he had, but he was good. Again, he was, he was, like you said, making shots, keeping it competitive. I wrote in my notes in all caps, Maxey kicking out the shooters, but no one is making shots.
Nobody.
Because literally
Nobody.
no one was making shots. Like at halftime, Maxey had 19 points. Again, pretty decent offensive performance for him. Everybody not named Tyrese Maxey on the Sixers had 23 points on 10 of 33 shooting. They just weren't making shots. And they had some good looks. Like, they had some pretty decent looks early on, at least early on in the first couple of quarters. Nobody was making a shot. Like Edgecombe, Barlow, like all those, Kelly, to your point, nobody was making shots tonight, like at all. And they had some pretty decent looks after when Maxey would drive and kick.
Yeah. No, another 2 straight really down shooting nights from VJ. Kelly was completely lost on offense. I mean, he was lost on defense too. It's pretty much was the point of the first slot there. But offensively too, 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3. Seemed like pretty much every 3-pointer he took was a transition opportunity the other way. I mean, look, they lost this game for a million different reasons. Newsflash, when you lose by 49, there's not a single reason. The defense pissed me off more because it was way more preventable. Like, off shooting nights happen. You have to try to work around that if it is going to happen, especially when, like we said, a bunch of your, Embiid, Paul George, Quentin Grimes, all out. You have to find a way to manufacture points. You have to find a way to, really keep yourself in the game, even without all of your talent. And you assume an off night is probably going to happen offensively. They just didn't, like, when it's the rebounds, whether it was the half court defense, it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, just to your point, like, when you don't have Embiid, when you don't have Grimes, you don't have Paul George, like, you got to lock in on defense, right? Like you have, like, if you don't do anything else, like you said, like, shooting is, comes and goes, it's hot and cold. You have to lock in because you're not gonna be able to win the shootout. Like, you're not, without those 3 guys, you're not scoring 130 points, right? Unless somebody gets unbelievably hot. So you have to lock in on defense. Again, you turn around, down 16-4, 4 minutes or 5 minutes into the game. It's like, all right, well, clearly you missed the memo because that didn't happen at all tonight.
No, it did not. But hey, congrats to Tyrese for our player of the game in a game that
Yeah.
was really not a game at all. I mean, it was nice because Tyrese has been struggling. I mean, it
Sure.
doesn't matter because it's not like you can carry momentum through an 8-day break. But it was nice to see the ball go in a little bit more. It was nice to see him put that kind of pressure on the rim and get the free throw line. I just wish it happened in a game that mattered, but unfortunately, it did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, truthfully though, I don't know what they do at that backup center spot. Because I mean, Nick, like we said before the game, and I think Nick did a lot of, I think he started Bona for the most part because he wanted to match Drummond to Robinson to try to help him, keep him off the glass.
Right.
But I don't think anyone has any real reason to trust either of them. And you're at a point in the season where like you can't. I mean, we can go through the list of what they need. They need more ball handling on the perimeter. They need more wings because really outside of Paul and Kelly, you only have Justin Edwards. They need a big because you don't have anyone you can trust behind Joel Embiid. They've only got 2 minimum salary slots to work with for the most part. Do the math. They can't fill everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Jeez.
Yeah. No, they got, they committed more turnovers than the Knicks. They got out rebounded by the Knicks. Obviously, the shot quality was completely different. They got outshot from the perimeter. The Knicks legitimately won this in every which way. Here's is maybe the most striking statistic. And I think this really goes to show the defensive breakdowns. The Knicks made 8 corner threes. The Sixers won. So corner threes, outside of shots at the rim, corner threes are maybe the most valuable shot in the game.
Right.
The Knicks made 8 of them. The Sixers made 1. And that's just because the Sixers were in rotation all night. All night.
I thought you were going to hit me with the Knicks making 41 assists and 48 baskets. I thought you were going to hit me with that stat. Because good Lord.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when the ball moves and your guys on the perimeter make shots. It's and also the perimeter defense or the transition defense sucked as well. I don't want to leave that out too. I've been complaining about every other aspect of their defense. The Knicks ran on 54% of their live ball rebounds. Can't happen. It just can't happen.
No.
I don't really have too much good to say about this one. But once again, Tyrese Maxey, player of the game because somebody had to win it. All right. I guess any other real quick thoughts before we get to the break? We did get to see Dale and Terry real quickly make his Sixers debut. Charles Bassey made his Sixers debut, even though he's been here for 2 weeks. Janai Broom got a little bit of run in garbage time at the end. Anything from those low minute guys stand out to you?
No, not really. Trying to be positive. Dale and Terry, by the way, who was traded for Jose Alvarado a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he was.
Neither
one player made a slightly different impact.
Yeah, like I mean, I've been out on Janai Broom for forever, so I'm never gonna, read that much into that. But yeah, like those guys really. I mean, Terry is something again. He's got some length. He's like maybe a little, got a little bounce to him. He shot pretty well, before he got here. Hopefully some of that carries over because again we needed some perimeter shooting, especially now, with George out and with no McCain. So hopefully he can, be that guy on, the second unit. But we did again tonight. It's hard to read anything from tonight because they didn't get in, until they were down 40. So it's hard to read into that.
No, and I do think if you were going to ask me which one I would rather have on the roster, Janai Broom or Charles Bassey, I'd take the swing on Bassey, but that's because I'm like you. I don't think Janai Broom is going to be an NBA player whatsoever. But unfortunately, Bassey is already under contract. Broom is already under contract. Bassey is a 2-way. I don't think he is going to be the 2-way that they convert. Quite frankly, if they're going to convert one of their 2-ways, I think it probably would be Beauchamp. We had a conversation about that the other day here. So go check that out on yesterday's show. We'll see how the buyout market shakes out. But I don't expect Bassey to be that one. But like I said, he's at least big, can rebound, and will occasionally block a shot.
Yeah.
All right. I think we will probably head on over to one more break here, and then we will try our darndest to find an unsung hero from this mess of a game.
All right, folks, it's gotten a little cold outside and those joints are tightened up. The back is aching a little bit and you don't want pain or injury disrupting your routine. Getting the right care shouldn't be a hassle either. Rothman Orthopedics, they make it easy with convenient office locations throughout the region, plus walk-in and urgent care centers when you need help fast. And I got to tell you, proud to tell you that Rothman proudly serves the communities across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers as well. Whether it's a new injury or something that's been bothering you for a while, expert orthopedic care is right around the corner. Schedule your appointment today at rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Don't let all of your joints freeze up on you. Get it checked out so you're not experiencing any pain and you can get helped out at Rothman Orthopedics. Your mobility, you got to get it right. Our mission.
Philly sports fans, listen up. If you're looking for something truly unforgettable this year, I've got the perfect idea. You've got to check out the incredible work from Philadelphia sports artist Jordan Spector over at SpectorSportsArt.com. We've got a bunch of these pieces hanging up in our studio, and trust me, these aren't just posters that you hang on the wall. These are museum-level artworks of the greatest moments and icons in Philly sports history. His collections come in prints, canvases, and even athlete-partnered trading cards. And get this, one of the newest cards actually includes a piece of Brandon Graham's real game-worn jersey from that matchup in New Orleans. You remember the one against the Chiefs. It really doesn't get more authentic than that. If you've got a diehard sports fan in your life, or if you just want to treat yourself, this is the kind of gift they'll talk about forever. So head over right now to SpectorSportsArt.com. That's SpectorSportsArt.com and grab something epic for the Philly fan in your life. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show, where we react to the Sixers' 49-point defeat to the New York Knicks on national TV in their home building in their final game before the All-Star break. 138-89 was the margin of victory for the Knicks, and quite frankly, it didn't even feel that close. All right, I think we will probably, again, I'm going to try to wring any kind of positivity I can out of this, because quite frankly, my nature is to get super, super dismissive and disgusted, and we don't necessarily need everyone to do this. So let's jump right in to the unsung hero, presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute. So I actually went through a couple of different options here.
Okay.
You know, I thought VJ, because unsung means, you know, you're not going to pick like the leading scorer. And VJ at that point had a really tough shooting night, but his defense on Brunson could have made him the unsung hero. And quite frankly, maybe the 2 turnaround jumpers that he made.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Yeah.
In a game like this, where the outcome was never in doubt from the opening tip for the most part, you're trying to pull something positive away to project forward. And I thought that could have been it. You know, I thought Trendon Watford made a couple nice passes. And in a game that was as ugly as this one was, I thought maybe Watford showing that kind of creativity could be the unsung hero. But at the end of the day, I went with Dominick Barlow, the newly minted standard NBA contract. 13 points, 6 of 10 shooting, 4 rebounds and assists, 2 steals, and a block for Dominick Barlow today. You know, obviously, defense, weren't many people on the Sixers playing it. So he was one of the few that, you know, I wanted to kind of reward him for that. And I did like some of the stuff he came out with in the third quarter offensively. You know, he had a pretty nice spin move for a layup. He had another floater early in that third before it really got out of, I mean, it got out of hand. I think they started the third with like 23-9 run. So it got out of hand very quickly. But I do like that Barlow is showing a little bit more offensively and a little bit more, you know, willingness to expand and get out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, no, he, like you said, like he had a pretty decent third quarter. First half was okay. He had a pretty decent third quarter. The team themselves, they had that 8-0 run in the third quarter that made it a little bit interesting for a second. But again, if you told me before the game Barlow would have 13 points, you know, 13-4, you know, tonight, you know, given the fact that, you know, you're down a couple bodies, I would take that, you know, every single night of the week. So he's definitely my unsung hero. I did want to mention, and you kind of talked about it briefly, the VJ Edgecombe, the turnaround jumpers. Didn't know he had that in his bag. A little bit of impressed that he knocked a couple of those down early. Well, not had those 2 early. turnaround jumpers. Hopefully, that's part of the repertoire. Again, if we're trying to find some positives from tonight, I think Dominick Barlow is playing the third quarter, and then those two jumpers by VJ Edgecombe. I think we can take that. Hopefully, we can build on that. In the next few weeks.
No, I mean, I think those were the only two. The only jumpers VJ could hit today was when he was turning around and barely looking at the basket. When he had a wide open look from three, no chance. But man, if he was trying to turn around on a baseline out of a post up, that one he could hit. No, but I do think and VJ has been struggling a little bit from three and from the field, quite frankly, of late. I do think, especially with someone that young still, it's worthwhile to, it's worthwhile to try to extrapolate something that he previously couldn't do or wouldn't do and try to take something good from it, glean something good from it. So I'm right there on the same page with you. I do think we have Kyle checking in here from the arena. I can't imagine this is going to be a great, some great information, not great information. I can't imagine there's going to be much positive to talk about with Kyle, but we're happy to do so. So let's bring Kyle on here as well. Hey, buddy, that was a game, huh?
Hey.
That was certainly a basketball game that took place. The main reason I'm on here is that I couldn't stomach the idea of you two having to talk by yourselves for an hour about that absolute disaster class. So I'm here. We talked to Maxey. We talked to Nurse. We talked to Dom Barlow. Ask me whatever you want, and we'll talk about it for 10 minutes or so, and we'll all go on our merry ways. Maybe I'll even run into Devon. I did see Devon. I think he was going to see tonight's enemy, but friend of the show. So
he's not a friend of the show until he comes on the show. His dad's a friend of the show, but he's not.
Yes,
that's right. That's true.
Okay, I had to stop myself. We're not in overtime yet. What the heck happened, Kyle?
They didn't show up. Next question. Yeah, so I think that was the very obvious theme from Maxey and Nurse, where Nurse immediately went to their lack of readiness, and you can guess all the various explanations for that. I did see the thumbnail for this show, so we're all on the same page. As you can imagine, when I'm able to get on a show 35 minutes into it, that indicates things were moving quickly, which also says that Joel Embiid was not here, but says a lot of guys are probably concerned with their flights and their post-game plans. I just think, look, some of it you have to give the Knicks credit for. They're in the same spot in terms of last game before the All-Star break. Back-to-back last night, and so they could have made excuses. They came in, they played hard. They're just running up and down the floor with more gusto. They also did, very notably, acquire somebody at the deadline who is playing for their team, who made 8 threes. So I was told that such things were not possible, that you couldn't get someone at the deadline who was an impact player. So while we can wait for further judgment on that, certainly played a factor tonight. So, yeah, I mean, everything that could go wrong once you get in a hole, they're down, 50-30, probably 18 minutes into the game. The game's over at that point. Nobody is locking in to the degree that it's going to require to turn that game around and win that game. The only person who didn't know that was Nick Nurse, who decided he was going to play VJ and Kelly and Dom until they were down 40-plus points, which I don't know if you guys discussed that at this point, but what the heck were they doing? Come on, man. The game was over at halftime. You could have put Chuck Bassey and Beauchamp and Dalen Terry and all those guys in. It would have made 0.0% difference.
No, I got called out. Somebody thought I was crazy when I said it was garbage time in the middle of the second quarter. No, it was garbage time starting in the middle of the quarter. Speaking of players who change teams at the deadline that don't move the needle, did you see Io the other day?
I did. I also saw Jared scored 8 points in 75 seconds in their game tonight. So that was a fun thing to learn about in the media room. So yeah, I'll bring you guys some insight from the pressers, since that's ostensibly what I'm here for. So talked with Maxey a good bit about it. Seemed very clear that these guys and him need the All-Star break. And I know you guys were talking about VJ a little bit before I came on. And Maxey gave a pretty enlightening answer when I asked him about how did you adjust to this process of playing 82 and having to play a big role compared to, when you're in college, you have a big role, but it's like 30 games, 35 games, maybe on the high end. And then you get to the league and Tyrese is like, I only played like 12 minutes a game when I was a rookie. So second year is where it really caught up to me. And he said, you only have one body and you really got to take care of it. So it requires, the post-game treatment when you get home after you get the post-game treatment, the rest, the recovery. And also, and this is a thing that applied to Tyrese that he says is certainly true with VJ, is sometimes you just got to not go in and shoot today. You have to understand, like, today's a day I do nothing, and understanding the value of doing nothing and what that can do for your legs, your mind, your body, like just everything. And so I think he sounded excited, not just for himself once he's done with the All-Star stuff, but for VJ to get a little bit of downtime, because I think as he struggled to shoot for most of 2026, not all of that is because of tired legs, but at least a little bit of it is probably, this is the most games he's ever played in a year by far.
So, Kyle, what you're saying is I did absolutely nothing, and it was everything that I thought it could be.
So, and to that
office space.
To that point, Derek, we were talking with some media folks and PR here in the press conference room as things are wrapping up. And Will, who we deal with pretty often here, said, I might do something over All-Star break. And I was like, I think we're all going to do something, but my something might just be nothing, because we all need this break to just decompress, relax, and then it's back to basketball in about 7 days. Is it exactly a week from today?
I think
18th,
it's
19th?
Thursday.
Okay, so it's all right, 19th. So close enough.
It's a week
Derek
off.
knows.
Yeah.
Derek knows my days
You're
of
not
the
the
week
calendar
are,
guys.
So what else is on your mind, fellas?
Yeah, I'm just curious. So what was the reasoning? I don't know if Nick Nurse talked about it. What was the reasoning for starting Bona tonight over Drummond? Was there just a matchup thing, or?
Yeah, so that did come up. I think it was mostly that he wanted Drummond matched up with Mitchell Robinson, and so that was a little bit of like, okay, a Dem can step out and guard on the perimeter a little bit more, at least like move on the perimeter. It doesn't mean that he's going to be effective out there, because a lot of fouling when Adem's away from the basket. I also thought he struggled tonight, and the team struggled mightily with the trap and recover part of their scheme. I know Derek
that was driving me nuts. They had two of them where they brought Towns man up to trap and left Maxey as a low man on the baseline to try to like deal with a rolling Towns. And look, Towns isn't the most physical player in the world, but he's 6'10" and big. What the heck is Tyrese Maxey gonna do?
Yeah, and like kudos to Tyrese for mostly getting there to try to take a charge at one point before Towns punched that one and got the M1. But yeah, like it also came up, speaking of that, I don't know that they should keep this scheme, the more aggressive scheme, when they're in these games with no Joel, there's no Paul until late March. Should you maybe skew a little bit more conservative, less help toward the middle, play a little bit more drop? I know Adem is not like the greatest drop center in the world, but like at least then the scheme has some consistency to it and you can settle into a little bit of a rhythm. I don't know that that's the salvo, but it was something that was definitely rattling around in my brain watching that game tonight.
Yeah. It was just tough to analyze that one, because like the first two of the first three buckets of the game was like Kelly just falling asleep.
Yep.
Like they weren't even scheme related. So like this was one where like it really did feel your tweet, what was it, like 1-2-3 Cancun? Like that was that game almost to a T right from the jump. So this was a tough one to analyze. And I mean, they had like, what they have? How many points in the paint did they have in the first quarter? Like 20? Something like that? It was absurd.
Too many.
Yeah.
And one of the funniest graphics of the entire year, our little monitors that we have courtside with the box scores and whatnot, was the part of it that says biggest leads, and it said Philadelphia 2, New York 52,
and that was what, 2-0, right?
Yes, so they were up 2-0, and then I believe never again, right? Or at least
I think that was it.
Never got above 2. So, boy, that summed up the night for me.
What do you make of VJ's struggles? Because it did seem like, on the one hand, he made 2 jumpers that I'm not sure I knew he had the capability of making. On the other hand, he couldn't make a gosh darn thing else outside of that. But I also thought he had some moments against Brunson where he stood him up and played pretty good defense. So it was really all over the place.
Yeah, I do think he was, to that point, one of the only guys who seemed like he cared about this game to some extent. Like the defensive reps against Brunson were very good. The shot is concerning at this point. I would say some of it is the fatigue factor. He's going to get a week off here other than the Rising Stars game, which I don't think should force him to expend a lot of energy, I wouldn't think. So I think the fatigue has set in a little bit, and getting it some time off will help. I do think he's also a streaky player and a streaky shooter. That was true at Baylor. I don't think we were going to get through a whole season where he's just a back of the baseball card. Every night he shoots 38% and he hits 38% of his threes. That'd be very difficult every game to hit exactly 38%, right? So, but just in the macro, you weren't expecting him to go through the whole year without a slump. This just is a pretty prolonged one. I don't think the mechanics have been pristine lately. Why that is, I'm not sure. Again, you can circle back to he's probably dealing with some fatigue, and so there are parts of it, whether it's the base up top, whatever it might be, that are not working in conjunction the way they were earlier in the season. So maybe a little bit of a reset will help him, but he's got to find that form again, because they have a lot of these lineups where it's 2, even 3 guys who are questionable shooters on the floor together. And he's one of the guys who they need to shoot, because he is not one of those aforementioned guys. And if he's not making shots, that makes his life more difficult as a driver. It makes Tyrese Maxey's life more difficult as he's trying to attack the paint. Like, it creates a whole lot of problems. So whatever the fix is, the solution is, they need to find it, and they need to find it quickly.
Yes, sir.
Quick
Well,
question.
Kyle,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
Nope, you go ahead. I was just going to say I don't have any more because I don't want to waste too much of Kyle's time, and I want to let him get home, quite frankly.
No, just in general, Kyle. For the fan, I want to speak for the fan. What's the schedule like for like All-Star Week? Because I know like a lot of guys go out of town. A lot of guys probably stay in town and work out. Like, or is everybody off until like Monday or Tuesday? I know the game's Thursday. Next game's Thursday. Like, how long are they off until they have to kind of get back into the rhythm? It
is coach to coach dependent. So some coaches are like, this will not surprise you at all. Doc Rivers wants to play a lot of golf and spend a lot of time not thinking about basketball on the break. So he might get one practice in with the guys the day before they're expected to play, and that could be it. I would, if I had to guess, maybe it's a return Tuesday, light day, Wednesday, real practice, Thursday they play. But don't quote me on that, because I'm going to be just like a lot of you. I'm going to be waiting and seeing, and I'm going to have to check my email and see if I get the high sign from Sixers PR. That's going to be my indicator.
Well, thank you for putting up with that slop. Thank you for spending a couple minutes on here with us to react to it, and mostly to give fans a chance to vent. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3 p.m. as we have a day show. But thank you for checking in, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you, fellas.
All right, let's head on to one more break, and then we'll wrap up with a couple of super chats and miscellaneous tidbits.
Guys, covering the Sixers, you end up working a lot of late nights, and that means what you eat in the morning is super, super important. That's why the $5 big breakfast deal at Wawa comes in so clutch for me. I'm already going to be at Wawa anyway. I've been going there my whole life. So what's better than being able to get a sizzly, I love the bacon, egg, and cheese croissant, any size, hot or iced coffee, plus a hash brown, and it's only $5. It's been my go-to. It's super clutch because it fills you up. It's a great price, and it's delicious. What more could you want from Wawa, one of our best friends for all these years? And if you want to make it sweet and want to switch it up a little bit, they have their caramel and chocolate craze flavors too. I got a big sweet tooth. Maybe you do too. There's all kinds of variety. So just stop by Wawa between 5 and 11 in the morning. It's limited times. You got to get in there to get that $5 big breakfast deal. Make sure you take advantage of it. You all know you want it. Got to have a Wawa, just like us here at PHLY.
Do you really want Joel Embiid returning punts? Absolutely not. We already know what's going on with his injury history. So you don't want him doing that. And the same should be said for all of your businesses, especially. No, it's not worth the risk, time, or money. You keep your stars focused on what they do best, and the same idea applies to your business. For small and mid-sized businesses, competing with the bigger companies isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. With competition heating up, you can't afford to fall behind. AI goes way behind ChatGPT, and it gets overwhelming very fast. That's why having a trusted guide like Togo matters. Togo streamlines your operations by handling customer service, accounting, order management, logistics, admin, data entry, and even complex multi-step processes as well. Every engagement starts with free process mapping, and Togo doesn't bill a dime until real work begins. Program starts as low as $1,000 a month and are built to scale without breaking the bank. Visit Harness Togo, that's TOGO.com, and mention PHLY for a free operational assessment.
All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers post-game show as we react to the nail-biter of a loss. 138-89 to the New York Knicks as the Sixers end their first half of play heading into the All-Star break. Yeah. I'm not sure I have really too many straight thoughts outside of that. Like I said, I do think that Watford, I appreciate his passing, if nothing else. I did like that VJ played hard and played pretty good defense, even if he couldn't shoot. I do like that Tyrese Maxey attacked and that Barlow, had his moments and quite frankly just tried to branch out offensively. That's really about all the positive I have to say in this one. I cannot think of a single positive to give almost any other player who saw the floor, but it is one of those games. And you do try to react to it and give it the kind of, frankly, just give fans a chance to voice their frustrations in the chat, give the, really react to what you saw and how unacceptable that was, and take a step back and wonder whether or not it's really representative of the team. When you have this many players out and a team that just doesn't have the depth, like they probably were never winning this game with both Paul George and Embiid out. But boy, they could have looked a lot better doing it, and they could have inspired a lot more confidence.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about earlier. It's like, this is probably, even though the Knicks were on the back end of a back-to-back, this was probably a hard game to win, given that you're shorthanded. But again, you don't need to go
Didn't
down.
have to lose by 50.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to go down 20 points, 4 minutes into the second quarter. Like, you don't need to give up 72 bench points, right? Like, you don't need to just get destroyed on both ends of the court. I mean, like, there's, have a little pride. That's all I'm saying. Have a little pride going into the All-Star break. These guys are just completely checked out for the entire game. Like, I expect a little bit more. That's all. I think it's fair, and as you can tell in the chat, I think it's fair for all of us to expect a little bit more effort and then a little bit more energy than what we saw today. And today, that's why today is so frustrating.
Jose Alvarado, individually, who, by the way, Jose Alvarado, who was just acquired for like a pair of second-round picks, outscored the entire Sixers bench in a game in which a bunch of bench players got some minutes because there was a lot of garbage time in there. Just absolutely. I'm like AC Phil.
18 minutes. 18 minutes for Jose Alvarado. 18 minutes, 26 points. Yeah.
They mailed it in from the jump. Absolutely mailed it in the jump. All right, let's get to a couple of super chats here, both from Schoolboy. First of all, he mentions that the ceiling and the floor for this team are so far apart. That is true. I forget who said it was. I think it was MHC Mike on Twitter mentioning that this team could play the 2014 Sixers or the 2014 Warriors, and they're down 3 with 5 minutes left, no matter what. I mean, I wish they can be down a lot more than 3, as we learned here tonight and have learned over the last couple of games. But they play down to the level. I mean, this isn't about playing down to the level of competition because the Knicks are a very good team. They're 3 seed in the East. This is about just not showing up. Fundamentally not showing up. Last one here from Schoolboy as well. He says that we are sugarcoating it. The roster isn't good enough because they cut corners and depth, and they went with a name as a coach instead of a better fit. Look, I don't know what show. And look, Schoolboy, I know you're here all the time. We see you all the time. I've been criticizing ownership probably more than anyone in the media. Like, there's probably nobody who's gotten on Josh Harris more than me. So, I will take a little bit of offense to that. Like, we have a literal jar that we have to put $1 in every time I say duck. So, like, look, I agree 100%. And this is one thing I've been talking about a lot over the last couple of days, because the general sense around the team is they're not going to be in the luxury tax unless they feel like they're an inner circle title contender. Well, but what if
Right.
not being willing to go in the luxury tax is what's preventing you from being an inner circle title contender? Like, what if the decisions you're making, the stuff that you are not, the steps that you are not willing to take in the summer, what if that is part of the reason why you then have no moves to make that are worthwhile that would put you into the tax? It's, it's a little bit of chicken and egg going on here. But Josh Harris just isn't going to green light the tax just to green light the tax. It is what it is. I think it sucks, quite frankly. I think it absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to go
Yeah.
through his tenure, the Joel Embiid era, receiving more money in luxury tax disbursements than he will get paying into luxury tax. And you're talking about a top 5 market in the league. You're talking about a player who is a multi-year MVP candidate. Put all the resources you have behind it. Like, the repeater tax is completely reset. You don't got to worry about any of that. Find a way to manufacture luck, even if it means you might go into the luxury tax for a BS season. And I'm 4 minutes away from when I can say the word that I want to say. even it might cost you some money for no gain. Show you're willing to take that risk. Show you care. And he just won't. He won't do it. He won't do it.
Yeah, and what hurts is the fact that, again, a few weeks ago, Joel Embiid's like, look, like we got something special here, right? Like, we have some pieces here, make some moves and kind of like do the best that you can to improve this team, and then you just do the exact opposite at the deadline, right? Like you trade McCain for picks and and future assets. It's like like you get called out in the media by your star player to make the team better. And then you go the opposite direction. It's like, all right, like, really, what is your ultimate goal here, right? Like, clearly, it's obviously not to be as competitive as you can possibly be. It's it's to kind of skirt the penalties that you could get. So
yeah, no, and look, you can make a rational case for why they shouldn't have signed like Quentin. Really, the way that you pay the tax this year is signing Quentin Grimes to a balloon contract in the summer or the fall. So that you then have more trade flexibility in season. And maybe that ends up to the point where, like, you don't find a trade that matters and you end up just paying the tax for a team that's probably a second round out. Okay, I want Josh Harris to make an irrational decision because he's desperate. That's what I want more than anything. It's one thing to say, like, okay, there's apron limitations that make reckless spending counterproductive and that are going to get in your way. That 100% agree with that. But my cat just like rubbed up against my nose, and that's why I'm scratching it because it's itchy as heck. I apologize for that. But we're talking about stuff like for example, KJ Martin. He had a non-guaranteed contract. You could have traded him, kept his basically a salary on the books to trade at the draft. You trade at the trade deadline 4 months before so you can get under the tax. This year, you don't sign Quentin Grimes to a balloon because you want to make sure you can duck the tax. And it's like, I want you to make that irrational move that probably has a low percentage chance of paying off and might end up costing you money, but I want you to be pissed off and try to manufacture luck like we all want you to. And he won't do it. He won't do it.
Yeah.
It frustrates me so much. And I've had so many conversations with people, executives, agents around the league that are like, this is just the way the NBA is right now. Like 25 out of 30 teams are going to duck tax. Okay, but you are desperate right now to manufacture something at the tail end of Joel Embiid's prime when it feels like you're sitting here and you have lucked into a second lease on life. Act desperate. Act like basketball is more important to you than money. And it drives me up a wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's probably just about all that I have. I do want to remind you, if you're listening on Fast, head on over to allphly.com to catch the tail portion of the show. But I don't really have too much to add on top of that. We do have one final super chat coming in from Misremembered. We can't answer that question. We're not doxing Josh Harris. Stop it.
Can't do it.
I appreciate the donation. We are not doing that. I will rant about his unwillingness to pay the luxury tax. I will not dox him. But
yeah,
I understand your anger. We'll just put it that way. Any other stray thoughts here, Roy, before we head on out and call it a night?
No, like you said, nothing happened. Even the hack of Mitchell Robinson strategy didn't even work, right? Like nothing worked tonight. Like they tried to hack Mitchell Robinson, that didn't work tonight. Mitchell Robinson, by the way, missed on my parlay by 1 rebound, so I'm upset about that. It was just a bad night, Derek. It was all around bad night.
No, and like Kyle and I sort of brought it up pretty quickly, but like the strategy of trying to trap out in the perimeter and leaving Towns rolling for Maxey to try to defend the rim was like ridiculous. It was never going to work.
Yeah.
But I do think like a lot of this, and maybe it's coach's job to get his players focused and ready for a game. Fair enough.
Sure.
But I'm not sure there was any real defensive scheme that was going to make this collection of offensive talent and these disinterested defenders into a competitive game. I just don't think. All right.
Yeah.
So I do want to thank everyone here for showing up. We'll do a real quick roll call, an abbreviated roll call because it's pretty light, and I had to watch a nonsense game, and quite frankly, I forgot to jot down names. So I'm just going to scroll up here real quickly. We got Misremembered 72, AC Phila, Mom's Grandchildren right off the top, SB
Nice.
Cole, Music Lover, Schoolboy. Once again, appreciate all of those super chats. Marcus Blackstock, who we saw in the Discord throughout most of the night. And again, if you're not a member of the Discord, go to allphly.com. You can subscribe to become a diehard and join us in the Discord where we rant for the entirety of the game as well. Terry Hayden in the chat. I'm going to scroll up. Who else we had? We had Misremembered with the super chat, which I apologize if we can't answer, but I also don't apologize if you got to understand we're not going to dox the team's owner live on a stream. Pegasus, Alex Stern. Scrolling up, I'm hitting a lot of duplicate names now, and that's my bad for not. Anytime, anywhere, 444. Appreciate you jumping in.
You.
I think I am. It's just too many of the same comments from the same name. So I think that's about it. It's been a long night, and like I said, I forgot to jot down names throughout the course of the social. You have to apologize for the terrible roll call. It'll be much better tomorrow when Kyle is back in the house. Thank you all for hanging out here with us. Thank you, Bree, for producing once again. Thank you always, Bree, for the wonderful job that she does. And thank you to Roy for showing up and being the best bullpen that a team can have. Of course, as always, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live. We will be back on the air at 3 o'clock tomorrow to who knows what we'll talk about. Probably spend another, hopefully have something other than this game to talk about because I don't think I can do that again. But we will see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Take care.
We all silly like the mayor.